Good morning, friends of unity, friends everywhere. I'm Reverend John Peter Giunta, and I have a construction, some thoughts I've put together based on a phrase in the message for today. And the reading included the idea of inclusiveness, which is a wonderful idea. It's a necessary idea in these times. So I cued in to those keywords. And also recently, another very wonderful person had the word blinders, that sometimes it is helpful to have blinders. And I would respectfully like to contrast that idea with having our eyes wide open. And this can work as well. We need two sides of every coin. And one of the thoughts that I had for my daughters as we were growing up and they were leaving for school, I would say, learn everything you can. Use your time wisely. This day will not come again. And some of these ideas have resonated with young people. We all, those of us who are parents, know that every bit of wisdom seeps deep into a child's mind. It's in there somewhere. So I have a text, and I'm going to read from the text I've typed out here, and there will be occasional digressions. That's my way, you know. The only way I have found to stay balanced is to allow every idea to come into the mind, not excluding anything. This is going to be a tough exercise, a challenging set of ideas. I hope you will see contrasts with the things you already believe. A recent topic began with a suggestion to wear blinders, presumably to keep the mind focused on the most important effort at hand and not to be distracted. I would like to propose an alternative. Bear with me, this will take some effort and some patience. I used to think that I wanted to study only classical music. I quickly learned that I would not be able to block out other kinds of music. Restaurants, elevators, everywhere there were samples of music that I didn't intend to listen to. So they were there. Invasive, pervasive. So by doing so, other styles just became more insistent in my mind. I also learned that some of my favorite composers incorporated other forms into their own writing. For example, Claude Debussy, Eric Satie, Igor Stravinsky. He had an interesting saying. He said something like, a good composer does not imitate, he steals. That was Igor Stravinsky. The avant-garde tradition caught my eye and my ear too because of the intellectual challenges the avant-garde possesses. John Cage was appealing, especially when I learned that he founded the New York Mycological Society, mushrooms. And they were such an obvious source of attention for the composer because he was a Buddhist and also he incorporated silence and ambient sound and visual poetic devices into his music. So John Cage is an amazing source of mixed media. I'm going to take this vast subject, i.e., in effect, avant-garde, in a broader direction. The use of creative tools of all the arts to better understand adversity, threats, and frictions around us. The concept, in quotes, my quotes, I propose is that it is not too weighty a word, concept, to mix the many forms of expression and spin them like a mantra in your mind in an attempt to understand all of it, the sum total, all of it. And we do that in our yoga practice. When we practice balancing, we want to let the mind roam through the whole body. If we focus only on the feet, we lose track of other parts. If we concentrate only on the upper body, we again will lose track of where we are. So the whole body as a unit will help in concentration to give us perfect balance. After all, in combining these arts, if a graffiti artist can work along with classically trained visual artists, if rappers compose rants and tirades at the same volume as degreed poet philosophers, and if break dancers have influence that matches classically trained ballet and jazz dancers, and if politicians who are having a command of the power of dismantling whole political systems, then put all of these products of these people together into a blender and pour yourself a smoothie. How do we deal with the din around us? So many ideas, so many speakers, everyone competing for our attention. Well, I would say make some noise on your own. Confront the false equivalence. Correct the errors. Do it courteously, without ridicule, without name calling, but don't be afraid to ruffle feathers. We have a whole country that was told that they should not talk about politics or religion. Look closely at what that tragically narrow mind has produced. A country that can't work out some of its most profound frictions. Someone came forward and told you, I'm the only one who can fix this. My fallback position to this quote is from the Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti. He gave us this: it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. If you are paying attention, you will see the sickness, and we're all included in this. I will not dare to point fingers, my friends, because that finger has to be pointed back on myself. I would assert that the healthier people will sometimes seek chemical assistance in order to cope better. Medication. No shame in that, folks, because if you want to be well adjusted, sometimes the normal societal measures are not enough, and that's okay. It has been observed that people who are outspoken, who speak their minds, who express their feelings, do not get cancer. You listening yet? Okay, so how do we get some of these ideas forward to help ourselves and at the same time help to fix the open fractures in our society? We become assertive. We listen to conversations. When we hear false ideas, we join in. We say, excuse me, I couldn't help hearing what you just said. Do you mean that? And then you say something that will help clarify for everyone, maybe simplify the thoughts at hand. This is going to be an effort, as I said. We have also, then you stop and listen, you pay attention. And when the other person is finished, you say, well, how about this idea? And then you put forward your point of view. Notice that it's an inclusive approach. And I also, while I'm thinking about it, I want to introduce a couple of books that I've been reading. Fascinating. This one is Freedom. And this is implying that freedom includes the idea of freeing ourselves from the prejudices about the human condition. This is the end of the human condition in this book, and this will give us a way of working toward greater unity. And this gentleman gives us cultural and physical anthropological support for the idea that we can change some habits. The conflict in our society is not innate to human nature, he points out. And this author is Jeremy Griffith. Jeremy Griffith. Terrific book. So I've been digging into it. And my way is to skip around. You know, I go to an index first, and I put little pencil check marks next to the items that are going to be most pertinent for what I'm looking for. Another very fine book. I'm approaching this again after many years. Fragments of a Faith Forgotten. And this is by G.R.S. Mead, M-E-A-D. And he gave us many books on the subject of interfaith studies and especially Christianity. So these two have gotten my attention, and I'm reading them interchangeably. So as we think about listening, paying attention, asserting ourselves, to assert ourselves is not an old idea. This is it's got to be renewed from time to time, and this is the good time to Remember, taking what we hear, digesting it fully, and then commenting respectfully. And when we challenge an idea, it's not disrespect. Sometimes people are going to increase the tempo of a conversation. They are going to elevate the power of a word into a word that was not intended. Sometimes think that challenging an idea is disrespect. It is not disrespectful. It's respecting truth, which should be the higher thing we reach for. And when people are challenging with other words, we don't want to increase the disrespect or the conflict by using a word that was not intended. I'm very big on language myself. I know that you are too in your ways. And it's important for us all to be courteous, all to be respectful. So no blinders, please. Blinders reinforce isolation. Isolation is destroying teamwork. Our society will die without effective teamwork. And I'm also remembering an element from some training I had in the military. There's a block of training that changes from time to time. It's called SERE, SERE. It is survival, evasion, resistance, escape. And it's told by a bunch of mysterious guys from the government wearing sunglasses and toothpicks in their mouths. And they teach you those four elements in order for a person to feel independent and capable of addressing the conflicts of times of war. And in that time, in that training that I had, there were some psychologists, and we had one exercise where we were presented with a problem, and personally, individually, we wrote out solutions to the problem. It was a physical or a mental situation related to an imagined conflict situation in the military. Well, we wrote up our individual solutions, and then we gathered in small groups, and we pooled our ideas to come up with a solution. And in every case, there were only about 18 of us in this training, and every team had solutions that were much improved over the individual solutions we composed, meaning that a group working together will do better as the group than individuals. Now you think of extreme cases in society where people are gathered together to form a prison, to form an isolated group. Now these are strong ideas, I know. For a Sunday morning, maybe you're not looking for this, but you're getting it anyway. Well, what do they do first? They take a whole group of people and they silence them, so they can't communicate with each other. And if we continue to observe the idea of not talking about politics and religion, that's what we're doing to ourselves, because then the group doesn't have any sway over what individual and incorrect ideas might be afoot. We want to help each other to improve our worldview. That's a strong objective, and it's done in all the primate groups. All the primate groups. You look at the small groups of apes, chimpanzees, baboons, all of those groups. Well, they're great in group work, small group work, but you put them out into bigger groups and they can't manage it. They don't have armies. They don't have huge towns. They just have their groups that are very homogeneous, very serving to each other in the small groups. Well, you look at ants. Well, now they're great with armies. Huge groups of ants, they're great with that. However, they don't do small groups very well. Well, here we are, human beings. We have our armies, cities, nations, and we also have family units, town units, pueblos, if you will. And so we're good at both, and we have to use both if we're going to survive. And survive now is also implying interplanetary survival. We want to get Mars ready. Why? Because this planet is dying. Why is it dying? It's because humans don't know how to take out the garbage. And so we're going to take, if we're not careful, we're going to take our bad habits to Mars. And then we're going to spoil that planet and then go find another planet. That's wrong. If we don't master life on this planet, we're not going anywhere, folks, because we will not be able to harness the abilities of all nations. All nations. Right now, some societies in this on this planet are at war. Why? They're at war because they want the other guy to change his habit because it's offensive. Hey, Fred, why do you have to wear that tie to work every day? I hate that tie. Well, maybe Fred likes his tie. So I will mind my own business. I'm not going to critique someone else's choices, especially artistic choice, a self-expression choice. So what I'm getting to here is taking off my blinders. I'm speaking with myself as much as to anyone, and to open my mind to consider why people are doing certain things, why they have formed certain ideas. Because everybody, to include my dear friends on the screen here, and all of my yoga community, my music community, everyone has a story that I don't know anything about. And there are events in all of our lives that have molded who we are. And in my opinion, it's great to re-examine some of my ideas to find out why I have been erroneous in looking at the way people think. So I honor the way you think. And I inspire all of us. I want us all to get together to look at other people's thoughts and try to form these grassroots groups that are going to help our society. You know, we're all in the same boat now. Whatever political idea you think you have, it's got to overlap with everyone else's, because as time is marching by so fast, we're noticing that our concerns are very much in common now. Reaching across the aisle, it should not be an effort anymore because we all want the same things. We all want survival and we all want to thrive, to thrive. So to sum up what the subject was here for today, I'm going to finish up shortly, I promise. I think it would be very useful for us to form those groups, to transcend our thinking, to reunify, so we will have unity. Is that a familiar word to anyone here, unity? Good. Because we are unified in our goals as humans, as members of our unity community, as members of other spiritual communities, we're all connected here. It's an inexorable unity that we have, and we have to keep that alive with a positive mental attitude. So thank you for listening to this humble presentation. Not really humble, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it will be useful to you. Feel free to contact me through the Unity Center and let me know how you feel about these things. I'll happily share my outline if you email back to me. I'm easy to find. So with this, I'll conclude my presentation and I'll turn the control back to our leader and most wonderful mentor and MC, Neil.